Democrat Party facing one bumpy road ahead, losing not only the election, but now America's youth.
A new Harvard youth poll shows a generation up for grabs. Approval for congressional Democrats plummeting nearly 20 points since 2017, dropping from 42% to just 23%. Meanwhile, over that same period, approval of congressional Republicans held steady, inching up slightly from 28% to 29%.
Joining us now, our Gen Z panel, here to make me feel even older than my bones do. RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair CJ Pearson, and two Gen Z voters, Caroline Joyous and Christian Hodges. Great to see all of you. CJ, to you first. Pick one thing that has driven young people away from, or the Democrats have driven them away, toward more conservatives, toward the Republicans. What's one thing that the Democrats did that made young people hit the high road?
You know, Dagan, that might just be the hardest question I've ever been asked. There's not just one thing. There's a plethora of things that have driven young people away from the Democrat Party. And it's, I think, in large part because of the fact that Democrats have frankly lost the plot. They've gone too far left. They advocate for biological men playing women's sports. They want young white children to feel responsible for sins that they were not allowed to commit, things like slavery. They want black children to feel as if the color of our skin is a determinant on what we can be and who we should wish to be. Those are the things that have driven young people away from the Democrat Party. Young people under President Trump aren't just surviving, they are thriving. They are dreaming again. They have hope again. That is why they're coming over to our side.
Caroline, one of the strongholds for Democrats among youth voters has been young women voters, particularly, highly educated elite universities. What's the dynamic there? How do you read that?
For a few years, I was really discouraged. I looked around and I saw my friends slowly becoming more woke and leaning more liberal just because they didn't like President Trump. But now that President Trump's in office, I have to tell you, I'm very encouraged that that isn't the case. You see, Gen Z, particularly Gen Z women, we have witnessed the left become so radically woke that they've actually repelled us against that party as a whole. When maybe they seem kind of moderately liberal, we were leaning more that way. But now that they've become so radically woke, young women, we're starting to wake up. We're starting to think for ourselves. We're realizing, oh my goodness, we want a family. We want a husband. We want to be able to actually afford our groceries, right? So now we're realizing it isn't just about a person, but it's about policies. And that's definitely driving us more to the Republican Party. Again, we're so tired of self-love and hookup culture. We're so tired of the party that is literally the party of death. Example A being the DNC having Planned Parenthood outside of the convention last August. But yeah, we've just seen how radical the left has become, and that has driven young women more so than ever before to support President Trump. And I got to say, I'm super, super excited about it.
Christian, Caroline hit something interesting. And just speaking from your perspective, are people driven away from the Democrats by Democrat voters or by Democrat politicians, or a combination of the two?
Well, they were driven away by Democrats itself, Democrat oligarchs. The Democrats have done this to themselves because they prioritize illegals over youth. Joe Biden had the option to give young people a head start in life, give them housing benefits, yet he gave illegals five-star hotels. He gave illegals everything they could ask for free, and gave young people nothing. Gave illegals what young people need to get ahead in life. And really, the Democratic Party has chosen their future voting base, and this is why they're doubling down on the illegal immigration issue today, because they see their future voting bloc as the illegal generation, instead of Gen Z, instead of as millennials, instead of as young people as a whole. And Gen Z sees that. They don't want to be disregarded and thrown across the street simply because they understand that college is a scam, thanks to people like Charlie Kirk. And they're waking up to their ideas. They're thinking for themselves and wanting to get married, have kids, raise a family, and live the golden age of America.
Right. Speaking of that, the same poll shows a shift in traditional life goals. Only 43% of young Democrats say having children is important, compared to 69% of Republicans.
Meanwhile, 76% of young Democrats say homeownership is important to them. So talk about that a little bit, CJ. You see a gap between Republicans and Democrats on some issues. On homeownership, though, actually, it looks like everybody would like to be able to afford a house.
You know, definitely, certainly so. But, you know, I got to tell you, I actually don't have much of an issue if Democrats deciding not to have babies. It's actually probably good for our country. And so if the conservatives can actually outpopulate the other side, then I think that's a win and a feather in our cap. And I would encourage them to get to it.
That's a really good point, and that CJ hits on, Caroline, that I think it's important that conservatives, particularly young ones, don't judge other people's choices. That's how you make the tent even bigger.
I mean, absolutely. We just have to come back to firmly standing on a basis of truth. And the left has completely neglected to give Gen Z that basis of truth. And really, we know that there's only one truth, and it isn't my truth. It's the truth. It's the word of God. And the more that Gen Z runs to that, the more that Gen Z women run to that, we get more excited about traditional values and about actually having a culture which consists of things that are lasting. We want a legacy. We want our lives to matter. We want our lives to have purpose. And left or right, we all want our lives to matter. We all want to be seen. And we can only find that in true purpose and true identity, which can only
Very
be
well
based
said.
in be true.
Yes, indeed. Very well said. CJ, Caroline, and Christian, thanks for being with us. Really great to get your perspective today.
Thanks
We
for having
appreciate
us.
it.
Thanks, y'all.
All right.